So, when my opponent has me in the half guard, the first thing that I have to worry about is his body position. Okay? So, if we always want to put his back flat on the mat, he wants to be on his side where he can unbalance us and get underneath us. Okay? So, oftentimes, instead of just throwing myself on top of him, okay, we're going to back up and find ourselves in low and hard here with the underhook. Now, I also, just as important as putting his back flat, I want to put one of his legs flat on the mat as well. By flat on the mat, I mean the outside point of one knee and the outside point of one hip want to be pinned to the mat. Every half guard pass I use has this in common. Okay? So whether or not I'm looking to pass to the mount, whether or not it's scissor, back step, or do a basic underhook pass like what we're doing here, we have to use our body to hold his leg against the mat. And that's going to kill his hip mobility. So back flat isn't enough. Okay? It's a combination of shoulders on the mat and that outside point of one knee and the same side hip pinned to the mat. And all our half guard passes begin there. So for our basic underhook pass, we have a strong underhook. I grip the corner of the gi, elbow up. My hip is going to be what controls his thigh to the mat. So I'm going to use the top of my thigh, my hip, sometimes even the outside of my thigh to get this control. So we come in, push ourselves up, and now hips flat. Now where's our weight go? Our weight goes not on our opponent where we become vulnerable. Exactly, our weight comes off our opponent. So we're going to overhook this arm, and I'm going to put my weight over his bicep. Okay? I keep my head close to his head, and now I'm going to work with my hip to make sure that his leg stays to the mat. Again, why are we putting the weight here? Why are we putting the weight here on the bicep instead of on his body? If I put the weight on his bicep, he can't escape his shoulder. Okay, just like if I put the weight here, he can't escape his hip. So he becomes pinned. Okay? Another way to think about passing the guard is that our opponent's upper body is a box. And we always have to control 2 points. Okay, so some passes we control the hips. Some, like this pass, we control the hip and shoulder on the same side. Many passes, like our scoop passes and pressure passes, we control opposite corners. Okay? So for this, we're going to control these 2 corners. Okay? We're going to keep his head away from looking towards his hips. Okay? That's what we do with our head position. We keep the outside point of his knee, and we keep his tricep on the mat. Okay? This is actually the pass that Marcelo taught me, and I think it's superior to the other passes with the guard because your hip stays low the entire time. Okay? So as we're in here with the underhook, head position, hips flat, we're going to continue to walk our opponent out, keeping the pressure, okay, over his thigh. Now, when I can, I'm going to bend up my outside leg until I can get my heel on my opponent's thigh. Then I can push, sliding myself through into the pass. Again, so a lot of details, but a very simple pass. So, when we enter the half guard, we get back, we shoot ourselves in, okay? Hips to the mat. The hips stay low the whole time. And sometimes we can roll our thigh in to keep it down, sometimes we roll it out. Okay, but the hips stay down, our weight is off our opponent. We open his elbow away from his body, weighting over the bicep, boxing out his head, and now we can start to bend his leg up and get our heel on our opponent's thigh. Now we drive the hip, push, past the guard. Come into control. Okay, so again, hips low, overhook this arm, weighting on this arm hard, driving the hip forward, okay, and down. Now, we can get this foot connected, heel above his knee. We drive our hip flat to the ground as we push and slide through the half guard. And freezing. In this lesson, we're going to work on freeing our foot from the half guard when that's the only thing stuck. As we're passing, many times in the half guard, whether it's either side, we're leading with our knee. Even on the previous pass, and here, as I drive and free my knee here, my opponent will often clamp onto my foot. And the more I pull, the more space I open up. So I have two options. I can drive my knee down and slide through down his leg. This works because there's a pocket of space right here. This is really valuable real estate when you're passing the guard, or when you're passing half guard. So I'm filling this with my hip and sliding my knee, using my knee and shin to split his legs down towards his feet. Okay? So this is our first option here. As we slide through, we open, we free our knee, and as we're sliding through, he gets our foot. And I can step out and slide hard down my hip, taking away that space to pass. So again, we've entered our underhook pass, keeping his leg trapped, weight on his bicep. We begin the passing process, hips driving. We free our knee, and as we cut through, he really traps our foot. Okay. Now, I don't want space to open up that corner of his hip. So I'm going to drop my hip into that space and drive my foot down towards his feet. Now I can walk him back in control. Use our hip. So when we pass everything here but our foot, another option is to take away the space instead of trying to use our hip to block it out, but rather use our knee. Okay, so instead we can jam our knee tight to our opponent's hip here. And already it becomes a little awkward for him to hold. Okay, we use our underhook and our overhook here, head position, to lock his shoulders down. And now we're just going to go to work with a strong kick with our base leg here to his top knee. We go to his top knee, we open hard, and fold this hook out. Again, walk our opponent's hips back. In control. From a different angle. So as I slide my knee out and I feel my opponent slap on the pressure, instead of trying to slide, now I'm going to jam.
Now I keep the pressure on my opponent, and I'll lift this leg up and open his top knee, unlocking the triangle, folding this foot out. Okay, so one more time. As he controls this foot, instead of creating space, I'm going to take it up with that knee, open, lock him back, and control.